Hey there, Star Stuffs! I am your host and artist, Ash Archambault of the Creator Being Podcast. Welcome here to this space where you will be reminded that you are a masterpiece in progress because your life is a work of art. You're going to be reminded that you are a living legacy and have everything in this now moment to create the life you want to experience. Right here during this show, we are going to go into practices, and I'm going to guide you to help you guide yourselves into greater experiences of personal freedom and connection to the creative force of the universe. We're going to practice trust falling with ourselves and the universe, and it's in this beautiful space that we can honor our humanness, our uniqueness, our connectivity to all other beings, and to the loving, infinite, divine universe that is here for us. So join me, Star Stuffs, on the Creator Being Podcast. Let's go. Dear Star Stuffs, today I want to tell you a story that's as ancient as the dawn of civilization. And it's the story that's as ancient as it is futuristic. It's the story of conscious evolution. Most beautiful things were discovered by accident in our human journey, like glass. Imagine the desert, the barren desert with high winds reaching over the vast, vast land of sand. And the earliest travelers slowly making their way, tracking through the sand step by step. These early travelers made fires, and when they woke in the morning, they found the fire had transformed the sand into the earliest form of glass. And it took hundreds and hundreds of years for this to become an art. And then hundreds and hundreds of more years before crystal glass was made. Before pure, clear glass could even be created. And now, glass blowing and glass making is this nuanced art form that you can find all over the world. Everything we know in our lives has evolved, including us. Today is a story of conscious human evolution. A little bit about where we've been and where we're going. But knowing truth for yourself is at the core of my story today. It's at the core of our adventuring on this never-ending story of human evolution. And so, my fellow adventurers, let's learn more about how we can find truth for ourselves. Wasn't that opening fun, you guys? I have been watching a World of Calm series, and I just have to give a nod to them. Amazing series, and that is how I kind of wanted to start this podcast today. And I want to dive in here right now to how I want to set up how we can talk about the truth and finding our own truth in our own experience of human evolution. And here is how the story begins, darlings. Our story begins today, children, with deer. That's right, deer. And not even deer that I saw in real life, but deer that I saw in a movie. The movie was called I Am, It was a documentary by Tom Shadyac. And it was a herd of deer. And now you'd think that a group of deer would be led by some sort of alpha deer, right? That's what I would think. But strangely enough, scientists observed deer and they saw that deer, one by one, would turn their heads in a specific, consistent direction. And then by the time when they calculated that the 51st percentile of that group of deer turned their head all in the same direction, that is where the deer would go next. Like to graze or get water or whatever it is that they needed. They democratically, purely through natural feeling and knowing, one by one agreed to where they were going to go to next. Pure cooperation in nature. But this is also the process of how conscious evolution works. And that is what our story is about today. And I've mentioned in the previous podcasts, and I'm going to say it here again, but we're here to choose our experiences, to use those experiences and move through those experiences and develop our awareness. And then when we're ready, like deer, we'll instinctively turn our head, boop, in the next direction, and we will gracefully unattach from where we're at, and we will instinctively turn towards the experience that is the next thing we are knowing that we want to experience. And this is how we have all grown as humans in our consciousness since the dawn of time. Compassion and cooperation began in human history. And I think a beautiful starting place for that is with the golden rule. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. The golden rule of kindergarten class. Started 100,000 years ago, 100,000 BC, when hunter-gatherers first started cooperating and hunting and gathering together and sharing what it is that they had hunted and gathered for the day. And turns out, this is a nice thing. This cooperation thing, this working with each other is helpful to our survival. Awesome. Okay. So that's where the seeds of the golden rule began. Now, fast forward to 1800 BC, and Egypt's story of the eloquent peasant was born, and it's the first recorded story with the earliest known reference to a version of the golden rule. And the saying was, "Do to the doer to cause that he do." Yeah, I think it's a little confusing myself. But things really heated up in our collective evolution between 600 and 400 BC. It was like pew, 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 all over the globe. All of our heads were turning in this direction. There were deer all over the world that were like, hey, boop, look this way. I'll give you some examples. In between 600 and 400 BC, the Greeks had Thales. He's one of the first noted philosophers. And he said, by never doing ourselves what we blame in others. Buddha in India said, hurt not others with what pains yourself. Confucius in China, don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. Similar echoes in Jainism, Taoism, Hinduism, and Zoroastrianism in Persia. Don't do to others what isn't good for you. And then in the Jewish Bible saying, love your neighbors as yourself. All across the globe, humans were evolving through this message. All across the globe, humans were being given examples in mystical teachers, philosophers, and early religion about this concept of treating others the way that you want to be treated. And this is 300 years before Christ. And then Christ comes along, and one of the most highest spiritual truths that he shares is echoed in this golden rule. And he shared this when he spoke to his closest disciples in the Sermon on the Mount. He said, "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." And the thing that fascinates me most of our ability to be cooperative and compassionate with other humans is that how and when we are meant to be open and learn something or experience something, it just happens organically. All of these people all over the globe started having these realizations. That's not a coincidence. Another beautiful phenomena that I think is noteworthy in how these mystics and philosophers were teaching was that some people in the masses could hear the message, and then some just weren't ready. They weren't open. They weren't willing. And I think this is beautifully illustrated in Christ's parable about the sower. And Jesus talked about these seeds, and he described a sower, someone who's planting something. And these seeds were scattered on 4 different types of soil. The first type of ground was hard, and the seed could not sprout or grow at all. Now, the second type of ground was stony, and the seed was able to plant and begin to grow. However, it could not grow deep roots, and it withered in the sun. And then the third type of ground was thorny, and although the plant could grow, it could not compete with the number of thorns that overtook it. And the fourth ground was good soil that allowed the plant a deep, strong growth so it could produce fruit. And to me, there's so many levels to explore this parable on, right? And this parable itself was a story that Jesus gave so that people could understand much deeper messages, but in a simple way. And Jesus gave different teachings to his disciples, which were right next to him and were open and were fertile ground. No soil in the story is wrong. It's just simply soil that's either more ready or more fertile or has less thorny resistances. And this, to me, is a direct correlation to our own individual consciousness. And to me, this story is calling to us saying, be pliable, be open, be curious, be willing to learn, and how that is such a powerful choice that when we choose that, we can be open to so much growth, right? That we can even just bear beautiful fruit. And we have more capacity available to us to receive the highest truths that are available to us. In some ways, I look at humanity this way. People are like these seeds, right? In this story, some people are still working on the fundamental ways of being human, like, hey, don't kill each other. Don't harm each other. And there are others who are simply just, trying their best and going along and opening when they can. And there are others who are like, I'm really, really trying, but my environment is just, it's not serving me, and it's suffocating me. And then there are other people who are in completely open and devoted positions where they're constantly opening and offering their lives and experiencing greater depths of love and compassion. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, what your job is, what your level of survival is. What matters is your openness, is your willingness to be curious, is your willingness to trust, your willingness to have faith, your willingness to receive any sun that's around you, your willingness to seek out the water that you need, your willingness to put yourself in soil that is going to help you grow. Everything here on earth and all the people and all their consciousness in it, it's all here as earth theater to help us grow and evolve if we choose it. It's that adage, right? That life is happening for us, not to us. And the whole goal of conscious evolution is to evolve into a species that embodies more and more greater forgiveness and intentionally loving choices in every aspect of our existence and creation. Is this not the core of what every religion, spiritual practice, and higher consciousness is guiding us towards? Here's another factoid in this ancient story that I think is really, really important to bring into the fold. It's this story about the Council of Nicaea. Now, the Council of Nicaea was the first council in history. It was the first council in the history of the Christian church where bishops convened in the city of Nicaea by the Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 AD. And the council represented many different churches, and it was the first of 7 efforts of council to attain consensus in the church through an assembly representing all of Christendom. Basically, they decided what did get told to the masses and what didn't, controlled the narrative. Their main function was to affirm Christ's divinity in the eyes of the public, first and foremost. And their second order of business was really to resolve the conflict at the time, which was about the Holy Trinity being valid. But in their 7 meetings, other texts, other evidence at the time was tossed out because they didn't want to scare people. Evidence surrounding past lives and benevolent aliens that have come here to help humanity. Now, I'm not saying this to make anyone believe anything a certain way. I'm using this example to illustrate that as a public, when we allow our institutions like religion or politics or media, you name it, give us objective truth, know that we decidedly are not getting the whole story. This is why it is so important to have our own pursuit of curiosity. Curiosity, my babes, is the verb, the action, the food of conscious evolution. And if you want to feel really safe and grounded in your curiosity, particularly when it comes to spiritual exploration, my personal advice is to always offer it up to something higher than yourself. I know the love and miracles and guidance I have received in my life when I ask to be shown truth has been completely astounding. And it's actually led me to want to create a vehicle for more of these stories. And I'm creating a podcast, another one called Spirit Actually, and where I interview other lovely humans. And we share stories in which we personally experience where our lives have been undeniably guided by spirit, actually. Which is why I can't help but shake that we cannot have true change, evolution, as individuals or as a society if we don't feel willing to trust. If there isn't a sincerity of openness. You know, angels and aliens could appear right smack dab in front of us and shake our hands, and there would still, you know this, there would still be people who would be entirely closed off and say boo and would totally want to deny the experience. I've surmised that the main requirements for conscious evolution, to be one of those deer that's like, you need sincerity, persistence, imagination, because you can't even begin to understand literally anything unless you are sincere in wanting to understand. And that sincerity is what stokes the fire of your will to persist in following your instinctual markers of your own curious imagination. And these qualities of sincerity and persistence and imagination, this is what makes someone feel open or not open when you're around them. Have you noticed this? These are like the intangible qualities that make someone feel safe or not so safe when you're around them. I want to share this sweet little passage about sincerity from a woman named Mother Mira Alfassa, who was a seeker and then keeper of the force of conscious evolution. She said, "Sincerity is a quality which is the same everywhere." That's why I feel safe. Those who are sincere, to whichever nation they belong, are all sincere in the same way. Only the forms given to the sincerity vary. The mind works in different ways in different peoples, but the heart is the same everywhere. The heart is a much truer reality, and the differences belong to the superficial parts. As soon as you go deep enough, you're meeting this something that is one in all meet in the divine. I honestly feel, you guys, that over the past decade, humans as a collective, more than ever before in our human history, are remembering our divinity, our brilliance, our sovereignty, and the power an individual can make simply by being in a state of personal evolution. And what I mean by that are people are beginning to understand themselves more, their mind, their patterns of behavior, their emotions like never before. And this is why I feel now is totally the time I can start talking about these things on a podcast. And also look how connected we are. It's incredible. You know, at the time of these early inklings of the golden rule, like most people, unless they were on a ship, didn't travel more than 500 miles away from home. And now we can circumnavigate the globe through technology at any moment. We have this magic teleporting wand in our pockets. And so the spread of information is vast, and the things we are feeling into and the directions we want to go in, like the deer in the herd, are happening at lightning speed. Now, I'm an eternal optimist, and not because I've lived a sheltered life or have these Pollyanna rose glasses on. It's because I know that grace is here guiding us all in many, many different forms. I know that what I believe and choose to create becomes my reality. I know that what I observe and move through in my experiencing transforms it, and it makes me a shapeshifter of my own human consciousness in any given moment. And I know that we are all deeply connected. And so when I change, we all change. When you change, we all change. Now, isn't that a reason enough to keep hope alive and evolving? This is what I have learned through my personal evolution of my human consciousness. I've gathered all of these experiences one by one, being open to receiving truth, being open to experiencing whatever I need to experience in order to gain the information my heart is seeking to know. That's why I can sit here on a podcast and feel totally at peace sharing my innermost feelings with you about conscious evolution. The whole point is that each of us is on this journey, and we get to choose. We get to choose what we're open to learning. We get to discern truth for ourselves. But the guiding force, the thing that is shaping conscious evolution in each and every one of us, is the force of truth. Just like love is a force, truth is a force. Consciousness is a state. It's a state of being. I'm not going to go deeper into that. Just let that sink in. We'll come back to that in another episode. But what I wanted to do today for our practice is a very simple, direct connection to truth force. In truth force, man, truth is powerful. Truth is just as powerful as love. It just has different qualities and properties as a force. And if you've never connected to truth, you're going to do it right now, friends. And I offer up this practice for the highest good of all of us. All you have to do, friends, is have your sincerity. That's all. That's all that's required. And you don't even have to persist. You're here right now. And you don't have to have the imagination because I'm bringing it to you, baby. I got the practice right here. So let's just sit back, relax, and enjoy connecting to truth. All you have to do, darlings, is first take a couple deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just settling in a little bit more into our bodies. All you have to do is this. Repeat after moi. Truth, come, manifest. That's it. That's all you got to say. And if you have a particular question or concern in mind that you want truth to help you with, or to help unblock any sort of resistances inside to you seeing, offer it right now. Ask it right now as we call in truth. And then sit, be quiet, listen, feel. That's it. Let's repeat a couple times, and then we'll see if we start to feel the force of truth. Truth, come, manifest. Truth, come, manifest. Truth, come, manifest. It makes me so happy. Truth force makes me so happy. Truth, come, manifest. And babes, just sit here open, like a little flower, soaking in whatever sunshine is meant to come to you in this moment. That's being the sweet little seed that's willing to receive. And just notice how you feel. Notice the top of your head, the space above your head itself, your neck, your chest, all the way down to your fingertips and to your toes. You can thank the truth for coming. Sit. Absorb it. Commune with it. Ask questions to it. And listen. To me, the quality of truth, it's a very heavy, dense, full force. It doesn't feel light and airy to me. It feels like go-go. And it comes down. Also, as you exit this practice here, before we complete the practice, I want you to take awareness with you into your day now that you've connected to truth. There's a force that you've allowed into your body, the truth force, and it might shake things up a bit. It's not to scare you. It's just so that you remain aware. Things may come up for you. Emotions may come up, thoughts may come up, questions may come up. How you interact with others might feel a little different. It's okay. Truth is not here to hurt you. It's here to lift you up. Thank you, Truth, for being here with us today. Thank you, Truth, for coming. And thank you all for being here with me on the Creator Being podcast. Just a little heads up, our final podcast of our first season is next, and it's called Dream With Me, Star Stuff. I hope to see you all there. Bring your sincerity and your imagination. We have a play date. See you soon, friends. This episode of the Creator Being podcast, I want to dedicate to my teacher, John. May he rest in peace in the eternal evolution of consciousness. So you darling human star stuffs, I want to say thank you so much for joining me here in this space. It's so incredible when we show up together. And really thank yourself for being in a place today where you opened your heart to this experience. If you liked this podcast, heck, better if you loved this podcast, go ahead and share it, spread the good. Send it to people that you think are going to like it. Like, subscribe, follow, all the things. Write the reviews. Let's spread the good. Why not? And if you want more offerings from me and practices, you can check out my website. It's ashcreatorbeing.com. And there you'll find all my juicy little portals, friends. I got writings on my Substack. I got my practice page. I teach live on this incredible platform, Vivaya Live. You can check that out as well. And you can find my other podcasts there as well. I have the Deeper Dive Creator Being podcast and Spirit Actually, which is about the undeniable truths in our life, the stories of them when we can no longer deny or dismiss that spirit is guiding us. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I will see you next time on the Creator Being podcast with Ash Archambault. Mwah! Love you guys.